Welcome to the Misfit One Lifestyles with Elizabeth Colin. She will awaken and connect with your Misfit One. Are you tired of the ups and downs in your life? Are you ready to live a healthy lifestyle once and for all? We are talking about all aspects of your life. Being fit is not just physical, it's also your mind and soul. Learn how to take steps in your life to move towards your goals. Elizabeth's goal is for everyone listening to the sound of her voice to get fit. Let's get focused, let's get intentional, and let's transform. Now here's your host, Elizabeth Colin.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Misfit One Lifestyles with your girl, Elizabeth Colin, also known as Misfit One. And today, my guest is going to be coming in talking about women's experience with anxiety, depression, relationship, everything. Listen, so get ready, sit back and take that pen and paper out so that you can get some tips on how we can live this life better. How you doing, Miss Autumn Collier?
Hello, Elizabeth. I am doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It is an honor to be here.
You know, the honor is all mine. You know, for people who do not know, she is a licensed psychotherapist and the owner of the Well Women. And that's a group of private practices, right, that offer mental health counseling in the state of Georgia and South Carolina, right?
Right, absolutely. Yes, we're a group of women clinicians, and we in a private practice, and we provide counseling therapy sessions to adult women only, and we provide services in Georgia and South Carolina. Yes.
You know, this is so important. I want to just say on the record that I am so honored to meet you and speak with you because you are doing such phenomenal work out there and it is so needed. It has always been needed. And we always say it's needed more right now. But every year we're saying that. So thank you again for all of your hard work. And I really appreciate you taking time out to speak with the audience because it's so, so important.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this platform.
Oh, you're so welcome. Listen, we might as well jump into it. First of all, how did you get into your field? What was the moment that you said, wow, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah, good question. I kind of fell into it in a sense from the route of becoming a licensed clinical social worker. I've always known that I've wanted to help. And even within my friend group, they've always, you somewhat the voice of reason, just very practical. So it felt very natural for me to end up as a mental health clinician. Even in my line of work throughout, during my schooling and then graduating, my first career was with Child and Family Services, and I saw a lot. I saw the system, but I also got a chance to see individuals dealing with the system, and those individuals were dealing with, it might have been substance abuse or even mental health. So there's something deeper there. So I then said, you know what, I want to go the clinical route and really work with individuals, even try to remove some stigmas in certain communities. I'm a Black woman in the Black community. There was still is, but I see a decrease in a huge stigma when it comes to mental health. So really just wanting to do the work with individuals, help remove the stigma, and just improve lives so that we can thrive.
Yeah, you know what? That's beautiful. And I think you hit a keyword, stigma, right? It is declining, but it is still so taboo or hush hush, like wait, don't tell people you crazy. I was talking to my girlfriend the other day and she said, Elizabeth, what I love about you is like you just come out and say, listen, I got issues, and she said, you at least admit it up front, like you are hard to handle. And we started laughing so hard because it's just how I feel I want you to know before you try to figure out like what's going on, right?
Right.
And I think how it should be, instead of people trying to hide
Mhm.
um these things, because I don't know about you, but when people try to hide or mask these issues, um and on a serious note, I don't
Mhm.
have anything that I have been
Sure.
clinically talked, saying like
Right.
something wrong with me. But I'm just saying that it is people who do have clinical
Yeah.
um, ailments and issues that they are trying to hide. How do you work with those type of people?
Absolutely. Well, there is power in vulnerability. And one thing, at least from my perspective, when they come to me, they're wanting to unmask. So we might see someone who is somewhat resistant, or maybe downplays, because we always say, even if someone is somewhat resistant or not fully engaged in counseling, they showed up. So there's something they want. And maybe sometimes we just have to help them navigate or feel comfortable enough to pull it out. And sometimes they're not ready to really dive in and go there. So sometimes when we have clients, and resistant, even that word, I don't know if it should be resistance or just like part of the natural process. Like, who wants to show up and just spill it all out immediately?
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's called
yeah,
self-survival. Like, yeah,
exactly.
I'm surviving right here. I don't need you to know
Absolutely.
everything. Yes. Yes.
Right. So I use resistance kind of, for lack of a better word, but it's really just the therapeutic process. But some folks, what we might see is minimizing,
Mm.
yeah, this happened, that happened, but it's no big deal. Or downplaying things that have happened, and the impact they might be having on someone's life. We see that happening as well, instead of saying, no, this happened, I'm really messed up about it, it hurts, because that requires vulnerability, and just being humans, we're kind of taught not to be so vulnerable, because that is how you get hurt. You get
Oh
hurt
yeah.
walking around being vulnerable.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it's more so that helping folks kind of show up as a more vulnerable individual during the therapy session, and also showing them, okay, also what we do in this session is not meant for the whole world. That as well.
Yeah. That's true.
Yes.
That is so true. And can we dig a little deeper, if you may, talking about, you brought up three great points. And I hope you guys heard that. She talked about minimizing it,
Mhm.
downplaying it, and how it affects others. Because a lot of time we say, and I would say too, that was no big deal.
Right.
Like, whatever, don't trip. But the other person is really hurt.
Mhm.
So when you come to it, and I'm going to use my own, because listen,
Sure.
on my platform, we telling the truth.
Yeah,
Listen,
absolutely.
it's we
Let's
gonna
do
put
it.
it out there, Autumn. Like, we're gonna put it out there. So like when you do something, for me, I'm gonna use my example of menopause. When
Yes.
I found out I was in menopause,
Mhm.
because I was very irritable and mad and just
Mhm.
all the time. And so when I talked to my husband about it, I said, he knows I don't really care for medicines. I'm all about
Mhm.
that holistic thing. I just don't know if my body can take it. I want to do it myself. But he was like, you don't have to take any medication, because I'm used to you. Look, I'm
Yeah.
used to you being irritable, or like, leave me alone, or right. So
Right.
he was saying that it wasn't affecting him.
Right.
But then I felt that, oh my God, I don't want to put somebody through that. I didn't like that feeling. So
Sure.
I went on and got medication, to
Sure.
help for that. Now, trying to put that in a line of mental
Mhm.
issues, have you found that to be somewhat, some people come to you because it makes others uncomfortable, not necessarily their own behavior, if that makes sense?
It does. So yes. So what we might see is some folks might come to us and they may say, I think everything is fine. However, my boss told me, or, my girlfriend said, I could probably use some help with this, or this. So we do see that. And, the person sitting in front of me is my client. That's who I'm helping. And, in the therapy world, we had the idea of, if someone's not ready, they're not ready. If someone's not ready to acknowledge, then maybe they're just not ready. And sometimes, they may want it pointed out to them. Again, they showed up for a reason. So even though somebody else may say, yeah, I think you should be getting counseling, and that client might say, I don't think I need it. Why they show up? Why they show up? Maybe there's an inkling of something telling them that there may be something I can get from this, or you know what? Okay, maybe I'm getting fired from every job. Let me just see if this therapist can tell me something. Like, they're showing up. There's a need somewhere. So yes, we do see that. Now, can someone sustain therapy if they're doing it solely because, or solely to please someone else? No, they won't sustain therapy. No, that's not enough to go for someone else. There has to be some benefit to that individual for them to show up and continue with therapy. So, and sometimes they may show up because someone's making them, and then they get in there and realize this is beneficial. I'm here to stay. And that's fine as well.
Yeah, I love that, because it's basically anything in life, right? Nobody is going to do the work unless they determine that they want to do the work, right? That awareness, that self-realization is like, oh, wait a minute, there's no rescuer, right? I have to rescue myself.
Absolutely.
And so when we talk about mental health in our community, as a color minority, shall I say, right? A lot of times our things that stop us is the money, financial, and or insurance and things of that nature. How do you encourage people that have things of that nature or whatever, the stigma or whatever it is? How would you go about encouraging them to just give it a try, to reach out?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. When it comes to getting treatment or therapy, yes, there is this idea and facts some around it as well, that therapy is expensive or it's a luxury. And it's not anymore. There are plenty of community-based counseling agencies that provide services to lower income individuals. There are plenty of therapists who provide counseling on a sliding scale. And there are plenty of clinicians, and I use clinicians, therapists, counselors interchangeably. There are plenty of clinicians also who accept insurance, some of your commercial insurances, your major ones, your Aetna, your Blue Cross, Humana, all those, to where when you show up, you pay what you would pay if you were going to see your medical provider, which might just be a copay. So it can be very affordable, and it's all about priority as well. I'm not saying, just put it first and the money will come. No, I get it's math as well. Money has to come from somewhere. However, I would really encourage folks to prioritize investing in themselves. For the cost of a dinner out with girlfriends, that's your dinner is more than your copay, to be quite honest, for most folks. Or even if you have to, another thing too, folks don't know this, if you have to pay out of pocket for a provider, let's say they don't take insurance and you really want to see this provider, and you do have insurance, but they don't accept it, you can try to utilize out of network benefits. If your plan has out-of-network benefits, this basically means you will pay that provider the full cost of the session. You will file that claim with your insurance company, and they might reimburse you at an out-of-network benefit rate, which could be 50% of that session cost, but you'll get something back on it. So it can be, it is doable. In our practice, we see women all day, all the time. People are going to therapy. It is a thing folks are utilizing, which we're super proud of. So it's feasible.
And how do we get in contact with you?
Sure. So we are the Well Woman. Our website is thewellwomanllc.com. We're on social media. Our handles are the Well Woman on Facebook and the Well Woman LLC on Instagram. And you can also email me if you have direct questions. You can email me at autumn AUTUMN, just like the season, at thewellwomanllc.com.
Great, because you're going to be getting a lot of emails because
Sure.
I love the fact that you work with relationships, anxiety, depression, all of those things, which is so important to your day-to-day lives and how we interact with not just ourselves but with others. So can we talk about that a little bit? What are some of the signs,
Mhm.
because we talked about that it is available. Let's
Yeah.
take the money issue out of it, right?
Mhm.
Now you gave us some great tips because I didn't even know about the out of network option. So thank you. Listen, you guys, hope y'all picking that up.
Yeah.
But it's important. But once we could figure out, okay, when it comes to anxiety or depression and those things, because a lot of times people don't even realize that they are suffering from those things. Can you give us like 3 tips or things that we should be aware of and kind of say, maybe I need help if.
Yeah. So I'm looking at, we see anxiety and depression all day and treat it. And both are very common. Both are very common, anxiety and depression, and both diagnoses are very treatable. So that is one huge takeaway. It is treatable. And so I'll take anxiety first. So, well, for both of them, folks have, you may hear some older generations say stuff like bad nerves when they're talking about anxiety, or I got bad nerves, or girl, I don't like driving on the freeway, I got bad nerves, or you'll hear stuff like that. Or
I use that, like,
right.
my nerves are bad, don't come in here with that, don't come in here with this today.
Yes, so, and that is speaking in a very layman like way. So that's one thing. We all experience some level of anxiety. Anxiety is not a bad thing. Anxiety is beneficial. It helps us survive. For some folks, it helps them, crank open that book and write that report that's due the next day. Like it gets us moving sometimes, and it can be an overdrive. Where we start to perceive things as threatening that aren't, such as a meeting with our boss or a social event. It starts to feel threatening, and it is not. So, and same with depression. Sometimes we may have a down moment, but down moments shouldn't be down weeks or days at a time. So you would want to be looking at duration, how long this is lasting. One of the main things, and this is according to our DSM, this is the book we use to diagnose, DSM-5, when these symptoms start to impact our daily functioning, when they start to interfere with our occupational job or school, when they start to interfere with relationships, when they start to interfere even with our overall well-being, that's when it really becomes problematic and starts to get more so to the category of being diagnosable. So someone, they may experience anxiety here and there, get nervous, and that's one thing. And it's another thing to say, I was so fearful of a meeting with my boss, or I was terrified to speak in public, so I canceled the event. Or I was feeling so sad, I've been feeling so sad I haven't bathed in a week. Like it's starting to interfere with daily activities of living, and that's when it becomes more so problematic.
Okay, I love that. Okay, that's great, because that's things that we can go, ooh, right? Like, oh, wait a minute, I did do that. I have this thing about elevators.
Yeah.
I don't like elevators. I just don't.
Yeah.
And I've never been called. I am always thinking that people lie about I start calculating the weight, like, like, no, that's way too many people out here. Yeah, no. So I have a very bad anxiety around
Yeah.
it because it does affect my life. Like I have to stop people. I walked up the stairs for
Yeah.
the Eiffel Tower.
Mhm.
I stopped the elevator, telling people in Chicago, like, hey, I have an elevator thing, you know.
Yeah.
So that is a perfect way to see it, Autumn, because it
Mhm.
does affect how I operate. And even
Mhm.
my husband, even to this day, hotels, we can't stay at the top floor
Oh,
because I don't want to go to the top floor, you know, in the
yeah.
elevator. I walk up there, but he's not willing to. So, you
Right.
know, it does affect
Yeah.
my day-to-day behavior. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it sounds like that may be more like more phobic of elevators. And, would you get a specific diagnosis for that? Not necessarily. And,
No.
yeah, it's one of those things. So even when looking at it, we look at duration, how long it's been going on, what has happened. So there's a lot to kind of quantify those symptoms to determine does it meet the standard for a diagnosable condition. But think about your daily, we call them ADLs, activities of daily living. Are they out of sync? Meaning, are we getting proper sleep, or are we unable to fall asleep and stay asleep? Is our appetite off? Are we grooming daily? Are we interacting with people? Those things, when they start taking a hit, or are we unable to show up for work? Unable to fulfill commitments, different things like that. You can tell that what we're experiencing emotionally is having an impact on our day-to-day life.
I love this. I am like in awe because it is so, you just explained it so well that even I understood it. And, you know, because a lot of times we don't know, like, am I just weird or what?
Right.
But I like when you said the ADLs
Mhm.
because that does matter. And if you have any kind of questions or you need a little um advice or insight,
Yeah.
it's okay to reach out to you, right, Autumn?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, the clients, individuals that we see, or just with therapists in general, we see, yes, of course, the clinical stuff and also life transitions. Hey, I just graduated college. I just got this big girl job and I'm having trouble navigating. So it could be just for life transitions without even that diagnosis that might be there. It could just be an adjustment type of thing. So absolutely, therapists, clinicians are there for that, to provide that insight. And one thing I do want to say as well is that when we talk about the stigma, the term mental health or mental illness, or sometimes that hits.
Mental, yeah.
Yes, that hits people hard sometimes. And really it's a catch-all phrase. I think it's used in many ways. Just because someone sees a therapist doesn't mean they are mentally ill. When people hear mentally ill, they're thinking about institutionalized, or something severe. um, I think it's become more so a catch-all phrase that's used many ways. So I would encourage people not to be turned off by that phrase. That's just being used different ways. Folks attend counseling for many reasons. Sometimes they have a diagnosable condition. Sometimes they just have life transitions, relationship issues, couples counseling, all those things.
And you take care of all of those. So again, can you tell us how we can get in contact with you?
Absolutely, yes. So yes, we do. We see adult women and we see couples. So you can find us. The best way would probably be to find us on our website, the Well Woman, um, LLC.com. That's the best way. We're also on Facebook, Instagram. Facebook is the Well Woman, Instagram, the Well Woman LLC. And you can email as well, autumn at the Well Woman LLC.com.
Autumn, this has been amazing. I really, really appreciate you for coming on because we covered a lot
Mhm.
in this small time because in this short time because unmasking is um one of I guess a very important step
Yeah,
into healing for
absolutely.
me. right. You have to be vulnerable enough, like you said. And it's hard, like dogs turn over to expose their belly.
Yeah.
We not. We like, we
Yes.
putting we blocking at every pop, pop,
Right.
So I really appreciate you talking to us today. And we on Misfit One platform.
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk about living fit, which is my focus plus intentional equals transformation. And I love that you are doing that every day with your clients and helping them to transform their lives. Now, let
Absolutely.
me ask you, Miss Autumn,
Yes.
how do you start your day? How do you take care of you?
Yes, good question. Fitness is huge in my life. So this morning I worked out. Once I get the kids out the door, I have three small ones. So yeah, so scheduling, being very intentional. I'm very protective of my time. Um, and I want to show up present. So I like to when I'm doing this, I'm doing it. If I'm watching TV, I'm just watching TV. If I'm talking, I'm doing that thing. But I typically start most days, I would say about 4 out of 7 with the workout. Exercise for me is um, it is what I need. My not just my body, but I'm at the point where my mind craves it. Yes,
Yes.
it is how it's my alone time. It is how I become centered and present. If I'm feeling stressed, I go run it off. Literally, I go run it off, and I just feel so much better. I'm able to come up with ideas and just be free. So exercise is my go-to. It's also something all of my clients, I don't care what they're going through, they're going to say, yes, Autumn talks about exercise. I am a big fan of movement as medicine, movement to help. So yes, I start my day most days with exercise, and then I eat. I don't skip meals because I get hangry. I'm like 3 square meals and a couple of snacks a day type of girl. And
Which
then
is great.
yeah,
No, go ahead. And then what else? What else?
yes, and then I get to work. I take my lunch and um, all those things. And afternoon. I call the afternoon evening time. With my husband and kids, pit crew. I don't know if you've ever seen like a NASCAR race. I've never just sat and watched my lawn, but I've seen it long enough to see
Yes.
the pit crew. Like when someone has a flat, the crew comes in, they change the tires, zip, 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 get back out there. So I
Yeah.
feel like after school dinner time until the kids go to bed is pit crew time. So we get them in the house, get your snack, let's do homework, I'm cooking dinner, let's eat dinner, let's go get baths, off the bed we go.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that because that is so true.
Yes.
Once you have kids, at that end is done. Like it's done. It's their time from that moment on.
Yes.
And I am like you. Exercise is, I call it my Prozac.
Yes.
It makes me a happy girl. I can solve all the world problems.
Yep.
I can do everything within that zone. So, before we wrap it up, can
Yeah.
you leave us with any words of wisdom?
Hmm. Yeah, I would say there is a wise woman that lives within all of us. Sometimes it's about being quiet and still long enough to listen to her and really nourishing her and nurturing her so that her voice can start to become prominent in your life. There is a wise woman. Some people call her intuition, gut, whatever you want to call her, but she is there. Usually, when I meet with a client, just in terms of like life stuff, they all know what they need to do. We always usually know what we need to do or should do or whatever the case is. It's about navigating how to get there. But that is that wise woman that lives within us that I encourage us to listen to.
Autumn, thank you so much because we share the same thing. I truly believe that you are whole, resourceful, and creative within yourself, and
Yes.
that you can do it. You just need to stop and listen, like Autumn says, so that you can connect with her. Thank you again. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, you guys, it's Elizabeth signing off. Until next week, I want you to live fit. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Misfit One Lifestyles. Listen, when you are fed up and sick and tired of living this stifled, overwhelmed, and overstressed life, and you're ready to live the fullest, richest, and healthiest life by gaining more confidence, more energy, and more clarity, living in your best self, you know what to do, right? Go ahead, go to my website, misfit1.com. Sign up for our online courses, Creating Healthy Habits, so that you too can live fit, focus, move with intention, and transform your life.